has been inside the top 2, but this is also the second consecutive race she is defeated to pole position by her main championship rival.
Yeah, and for Maria, obviously we saw the frustrations at the end of yesterday's Super Pole session, and those frustrations have been bubbling up over the course of the 18 months of the WCR, but it was the first time this season where we really saw it come to the fore.
Saw it yesterday with Chloe Jones on the cool-down lap from Super Bowl. A word on her in a moment, because the front row of the grid is completed by Roberta Ponziani, who was 4th in Super Bowl, but is promoted to 3rd by a 3-place grid penalty for the number 15, Chloe Jones. All the riders on that second row of the grid also promoted. Paquita Ruiz on number 46 bike, 5th in Super Pole, had been her best Super Pole so far in World WCR, and she gets that little added bonus of an extra position.
She's had 3 top 6 finishes this season, including a 5th place finish. Needs to come away from this race with a top 5 finish just to be able to consolidate that Super Pole performance.
This will be the best opportunity for Ruiz to be able to challenge for the podium, a rider who has finished every race in World WCR, but is just lacking that little step to be able to go from challenging for the top 5 to be able to challenge for the podium. Completing that second row of the grid will be Sarah Sanchez and Chloe Jones for the number 64 in 5th position on the grid. Yesterday was her worst qualifying performance in World WCR. She had previously qualified amongst the top 5 in every single session so far. She was 6th in Super Pole yesterday, but gets that 1 position extra due to the penalty for Jones.
Yeah, and for Sanchez, did a good job at the end of the session to find that speed to come through, because she'd been down on the 5th row, 4th row of the grid for much of the session. Was able to find something, comes through to the second row, has a chance on the 64 to be able to score some good points and consolidate that 3rd in the championship. She's only got 3 points of an advantage over Ponziani.
Completing that second row of the grid will be Chloe Jones, carrying over her momentum from Donington Park. The British rider who finished on the podium in race 1 and was in the fight for the podium in race 2 there. She got her first front row of her top 3 in Super Pole yesterday, but was demoted 3 positions for this race 1 grid due to slow riding in the final minutes of Super Pole.
Yeah, and you'd have to say, speaking to a lot of the riders in the WCR, they all felt there was a little bit of an unfair penalty there for Chloe, and for her, second row of the grid still gives her a good opportunity. She'll make a good start and have herself the chance to be able to fight it out for a podium. But it was interesting just to see the step forward that she made in Donington. It was turning those top 6s into a podium fight, and then obviously the clash with Herrera in race 2 dropped her down the order.
Row 3 will feature Budasol, Lewis and Rivera. Row 4 with Howden, Ralph and Sarah Baron coming in here as a wild card. But here is our front row, Beatriz Naylor, Maria Herrera and Roberta Ponziani. The second half of the 2025 FIM Women's Circuit Racing World Championship begins with a step into the unknown. A test of skill, physicality and maturity awaits with this first ever World Championship race at the Balaton Park Circuit of Hungary. The 25 riders on this race 1 grid enter with very few references, many question marks and 11 laps ahead. Our top 2 in a championship standing start in the first 2 positions on the grid, just like last time out at Donington Park. But if the precedent of the 2 races of the UK round is to be followed, expect a number of other riders to be in contention for a victory, which will go down in the history books. Anthony Nelson and Steve English live trackside in Hungary. Steve, we also saw a penalty for Emily Bondi for the same reason. She was supposed to start 19th. She will start from 22nd. All 25 riders qualifying for race 1 here at Balaton Park.
Yeah, and we can see here at Balaton Park now the challenge facing the riders, because a brand new circuit means that nobody really knows how it's going to play out during the course of a race. Getting the bike stopped into turn 1 has been a challenge for a lot of riders. We've seen it where they've ran in a little bit deep. So off the line, it's going to be the first time the riders actually face that challenge to pick that break point and manage to get the bike to stop. So that's going to be a challenge in and of itself. But down into there, it's one of those places where the line gets very narrow and it's easy to trip up over another rider. Turn 5, where the riders head down to now, with Chloe Jones on the 15 bike leading the way. This is probably one of the key overtaking opportunities. Long straight, heavy braking zone, you come down in towards the right-hander. From this point onwards, everywhere else is kind of, you need to just force the move, and certainly in the WCR, this is the area of the track where the brakes could appear, because if you lose that momentum, you could lose a lot of time in each sector, and that could end up being where one group becomes two groups.
It's very easy to outbreak yourself going to the chicanes. We've seen it a lot in this weekend across all three classes. 3 chicanes here at Barton Park Circuit. One is at turn 9 and 10. The riders are coming along that now. Then in that second half of the lap, turns 12, 13 and 15, 16, which is probably the biggest other overtaking opportunity that we have here at this Barton Park Circuit. Just a word, because we're getting a notification from race direction that there is a white flag out. There are drops of rain in sector 4 here at Barton Park. The riders are making their way around that third sector. In WorldWCR, if the race starts as a wet race, then there is no issue with the weather conditions. But if it is communicated to be a dry race at the start of the race, then it can be stopped by race direction to give the riders an option to change tyres if they wish to do so.
Yeah, we had a few spits of rain earlier on today, and it didn't really have any impact in the Superpole session for Superbikes. But for the riders now making their way around to the grid, let's see what the situation is for them. Spots of rain or drops of rain aren't an issue. It's if it gets a little bit heavier, that's whenever race direction will have a decision to make.
So the riders make their way onto the grid for race 1 here at Barton Park. We'll see our championship standings in a moment's time. Herrera 9 points ahead of Naila, then Sanchez 42 down, with Ponziani 3 points behind the Spaniard in that battle for third position. Beatriz Naila focused, motivated for this first race. She starts from pole for a second time.
The run down in towards turn 1 will be critical. Heavy braking zone into there, but it gets narrow as it funnels in on the line. Let's see if everyone's able to make it cleanly through.
Lights will be on in short order. The green flag is out at the back of the grid. So who can carry the momentum into this second half of the World WCR season? We wait for the lights. Long wait for the riders. Here they go. A historic race in Hungary awaits. The first World Championship race at Barton Park Circuit. Race 1 of World WCR is away. Good start from Beatriz Naila, but Maria Herrera will get the whole shot. She moves into first position. Chloe Jones moving up to 5th. She'll actually have the inside now around turn 2 across Roberta Ponziani, who's lost a couple of positions. Sarah Sanchez looking in a fighting mode as well, but our top 2 are starting to break away in these first few corners. It is a clean getaway from all of the riders in this field. Good start as well from Jessica Howden. She's moved up to 6th position according to our timing sheet. I think I saw Evelyn Lewis also making a good start there. But here are our front 3, and Chloe Jones up into 3rd position.
Yeah, good start from Jones off the line, and she put herself into a position through 1 to then have that inside line for 2. Good clever riding, and she's immediately gone with the 2 race leaders.
And that's what you need to do in these opening stages and not get caught up in any fight behind. It's 4/10 of a second, the gap between Jones and Sanchez. Nothing that can't be cut back in these first few laps of World WCR, but anything bigger than that and it suddenly gets very difficult. And Chloe Jones is going to try and move around the inside of Maria Herrera and Beatriz Naila for 3rd to 1st for the British rider going into the first chicane. Turns 9 and 10, and Chloe Jones leads the race from 6th on the grid. Maria Herrera down the inside of Beatriz Naila at turn 11. That's where the long lap penalty loop is. But Chloe Jones has started to open a gap, and I wonder if those few drops of rain have given her the confidence as well to be able to push a little bit harder. We've got a yellow flag towards the back of the grid. That would be Ornella Ongaro on the number 28 bike. The French rider has crashed just at the outside of turn 11. And Jones is starting to break away. Beatriz Naila, Maria Herrera very close. Naila will try and move going into the final chicane. She doesn't quite get it, and those riders behind are starting to group up on them.
Spoke to a few of the riders and the teams down there, and they've all said that this is one of the few places where nobody really knew what to expect, and they've all gone with slightly different ways to set the bike up. And obviously with the production-based bike and standard bike, there's not that many adjustments you can make, but it is interesting that quite a few teams have gone with different options in terms of what is available to them. Chloe Jones just about getting that bike stopped into turn 1.
She's lost a little bit of time in this final sector, but it was that 3rd sector where she really made the most of her pace here. It'll be interesting to see if that is replicated on that lap, on this 2nd lap, or if it's just a case of the confidence that she had in these conditions, in these tricky conditions. A lot of the riders will have seen the white flags going into sectors 3 and 4 and potentially be a little bit wary in these opening stages to be able to, before pushing and seeing what the conditions are like. Herrera will not go alongside Chloe Jones going into turn 5, one of the main hot spots at this Bounton Park circuit, but they've started to group up on the British rider. Now Naylor as well in 3rd position. It's half a second back to Sanchez in 4th.
With WCR bikes, you might have it where turn 10 is an overtaking opportunity, turn 11, sorry, down in towards the hairpin. So for Maria Herrera, let's see if the number 6 is able to have a good run through the left-right section now and set something up in towards turn 10.
Sarah Sanchez has come back some time. She is now on the back of Beatriz Naylor. This group of riders not managed to break away. Here goes Herrera down the inside of turn 11. Chloe Jones a little bit wide there, but she will have a good exit going up towards the next chicane of turns 12 and 13. For the time being, though, it is Herrera who leads ahead of Chloe Jones. These two come to blows yesterday at the end of the Super Pole session. A few words exchanged there, so no love lost between amongst them, but they are 1 and 2 in this race so far. Also, good shout out for Jessica Howden, who's moved up to 5th position. That, unfortunately, is Ornella Ongaro, who had her crash a few moments ago at turn 11.
You can see the 28 in the background, and hopefully Ornella's okay after that. She'll obviously be taken straight to the medical centre, as is standard practice after a crash. And hopefully we'll be able to see her back in action tomorrow. But you can see here at the front of the field, Chloe Jones not letting Maria Herrera get away. And I don't think Chloe's going to need too much of an invitation to try and attack Herrera.
Here she goes down the inside into turn 1. Can she get the bike stopped in time? Yes, she does. She will also have the inside line around turn 2. Jessica Howden has just set the fastest lap of the race, 154.7. So around about a second slower than what we had in Super Pole yesterday. But phenomenal stuff from the number 52. She was starting all the way down on the 4th row of the grid. This is the best performance that we've seen so far from her in World WCR.
Howden's been fast on a WCR bike right from the start. Think back to Misano last year. Right away from round 1, she was quick. The problem for her has been all those crashes and injuries and missing some races. But she has the speed, and now she's actually got the chance to prove it in the lead group. So the number 52, worth keeping an eye on. She's up into P4.
She has the best result of 7th in the World WCR class, so this would by far be her best result. She hasn't really been in contention for the podium at any race so far, with those small incidents she's had and that sort of inconsistency. She will remain in 4th position. No position changes here. Still Herrera leading ahead of Jones, and Naylor in 3rd, following them closely. She's keeping her powder dry in these early stages, just observing what's going on in front. But Naylor's been very good in those final stages of races, in Donington Park in particular. It was the last couple of laps where she really seemed to find an extra gear to be able to push forward.
Yeah, there's no points here on the opening laps. It's about trying to give yourself the chance to understand what's happening around you, see where the other riders are fast and what they do differently to you, and then try and see what you can set up. But it's good to be able to see the leading group being a bit bigger here in Hungary as well, compared to what we see typically in the WCR.
Sarah Sanchez close to making a move down the inside. Jessica Howden can't get it done, and they remain in 4th and 5th respectively. This is quite a big group. Lucie Boudicel does seem to be falling back a little bit. She's 0.8 of a second off the back of Paquita Ruiz in 8th and 9th position. Then it is more than a second down to Taylor Ralph in 10th.
Howden just starting to lose that bit of ground right now, and you can see for Sarah Sanchez in the 64, attacks down in towards turn 1 but goes in a bit too deep. That's the big challenge on the WCR bikes. To try and get the bike stopped like that really is difficult. With the standard forks, you bottom out really quickly, and just means that it's quite difficult to overtake like that. But Sanchez able to tidy things up and come through into P4, but look at the gap now to the top 3.
You can go that little bit deeper into turn 1 to have that inside line into turn 2. That's what Sarah Sanchez did there to move up into 4th. But that has created an 0.8 of a second gap between herself and Naylor. Naylor thinking about a move down the inside of Jones going into turn 5. Can't quite get it done. These three still in the same positions for the last couple of laps. They've got similar pace. They've been in the 154.5, 154.6 on that last lap. Actually, the fastest rider on track on the 3rd lap of the race was Paquita Ruiz in 7th position with a 154.3.
This is really important for Jones, though, because we saw last time out at Donington how good of a job she was able to do to claim her first podium in the championship. A lot of the time that always goes back to, oh, well, it's your home round, you know the track very well, and everyone's looking for almost an excuse why people at their home round have a big performance jump. Chloe didn't have a big jump. She just went from that 5th, 6th, 7th position into the lead group. But look at how comfortable she is now in the lead group. She's being able to take what she learned at Donington and bring it to this weekend.
Rider we haven't spoken much about is Roberta Ponziani. Now, she was starting on the front row of the grid, but dropped back to 6th towards the start, and hasn't really been able to make any progress. And it's been a bit of an issue for the number 96 in recent races, of not being able to make that progress. When she gets to that lead group, she's got the pace, but doesn't quite have that pace advantage to be able to move forward.
Other than Cremona, which again was her home round, where we saw that jump, she's been a top 5 rider, a top 6 rider, not that podium threat this season.
The pace is starting to increase here at Ballerton Park. A 153.94 Paquita Reith. The leaders into the 154 to the low 54s. So all these riders starting to go faster. Paquita Reith seemed to go a little bit wide in the background there, but she did get it stuck for turn 2 to get the inside. She's looking in a racing spirit there, but still not able to make a move over Ponziani into 6th position, despite that pace advantage that she has. She does seem to be dropping Evelyn Lewis from 8th position, number 21 in the background of that shot, not quite able to keep up with the pace of this group at this time. But the positions remain stable. Ponziani making a move down the inside of Jessica Howden for 5th position. That will clear up the 96 to go in pursuit of Jessica Howden, who has opened a 6/10 of a second gap. Sarah Sanchez, a 6/10 of a second gap to Ponziani on that number 96 bike.
Yeah, and this is where it's important for Howden just to put her head down and go with Paquita Ruiz when Ruiz comes through as well, and see what you're able to learn and understand to make the steps for tomorrow. But also worth keeping an eye on the top 9 fastest laps of the race, because they're your top 9 grid positions for race 2 tomorrow. Paquita Ruiz, Sanchez and Nela would be that front row of the grid.
It'd be fantastic for Paquita Reith to be able to start a WorldWCR race from pole position, but still a long way to go in this race 1 at Ballerton Park. Lap 5 of 11 here at the Hungarian round. We focus on Ponziani, 8/10 of a second between herself and Sanchez in 4th. Sanchez has been able to catch up well with the trio ahead of her. Just 3/10 of a second now, the gap between them.
Yeah, Sanchez started the lap around about 6/10 of a second off, so she's now been able to catch right up to them. And Ponziani just matching the pace of Sanchez, which means that she's also going faster than the race leaders.
It's not necessarily in the interest of Maria Herrera to have that many riders in this group behind her. It's the problem that she had at Donington Park, was a rider fitting in between herself and Beatriz Nela. It's not so much of an issue if Nela wins the race. She only claws back 5 points if Herrera is in 2nd. It's when you suddenly get other riders in the equation, like Chloe Jones, who can create a bit of a gap, although it does work the other way around if Nela remains in 3rd position.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where Maria, I think if we were in a time trial situation for 11 laps, she's been able to show over the last year and a half in this class that you'd probably back her to win those races. But we've seen it quite a lot over the course of the last year and a half, where her racecraft, whenever we've had the bigger groups, has worked against her. And obviously for Maria, she'll point to a few different reasons for it, but ultimately you point to the results sheet.
Change of a position for 2nd, Beatriz Nela down the inside of Chloe Jones at turn 5, and then turn her around and asking the number 15 to follow her in pursuit of Maria Herrera. Very similar pace amongst the 3 riders in that front group. Sarah Sanchez half a second faster on that last lap than the riders in front of her. She will try and make a move from 4th to 3rd, nearly into 2nd. Can't quite get it stopped in time to move ahead of Beatriz Nela, but that's the first time that we've seen the number 64 inside the top 3 in this race. Also a move from Paquita Reith ahead of Jessica Howden. She's cleared up now. Ponziani was starting to move ahead of that duo of riders of Howden and Reith. Paquita Reith will now have clear track ahead half a second to be able to go in pursuit of this leading group.
Yeah, Ponziani was half a second faster than them last time around as well. Just on the run into 11, we could see that Sarah Sanchez on the change direction through the left-hander towards the breaking point for the right-hander. Had a little bit of a moment there, so she's pushing as hard as she can, and Naila's doing a good job here as well to be able to just pull back a bike length here, a bike length there on Maria Herrera. And for Sarah Sanchez, she'd probably be better served being that little bit patient right now and seeing what Naila's able to do.
Something that Sanchez does a lot, she did in Donington Park, was basically try that inside line, but not quite try and make the move, although it seems that she willed into turn 1 here over Naila. And oh, big moment there for Beatriz Naila on number 36 bike. That will drop her down into 4th position. Chloe Jones also moves ahead. Bit of a moment under braking there at turn 1, something easy to do, but that's also given Maria Herrera a bit of breathing room to be able to break away, although Sarah Sanchez looks like she has a lot of pace at this moment of the race. Just 0.2 of a second, the gap between herself and Herrera. And we know there's no love lost amongst these two either, given the incidents that they had last season. Sanchez might have the inside going into turn 5. Can she get a stop in time? Herrera will move across. The number 64 remains in first position. But Naylor, what a moment that was going into turn 1.
Yeah, and it's fairly typical what we see here as well in the WCR as you come out of the downshift, and easy to have that into turn 1, but she was able to collect it and keep herself in that lead group, so nothing to worry about right now. But Sarah Sanchez showed that she wanted to lead this race. She's got the chance. Let's see what her pace is like now, Anthony, because Maria Herrera's pace hasn't been that impressive. 54.0 last time round, and she's been the slowest rider in this lead group over the last 4 laps.
It's a wider line for Sanchez there going around turn 11. Herrera seemed to have the inside, but the number 64 still leads going to this second chicane of the Balloton Park circuit.
See if Chloe Jones gets close enough to try it and have a look into turn 15. For Jones, I think turn 1's going to be her prime overtaking chance. She seems to get the bike stopped and hold that tight line well.
These 5 have broken away from Howden and Reith. Now 2 seconds between the number 96, Ponziani, in 5th, and Howden in 6th. Howden and Reith have been trading positions all over the last couple of laps, but that has meant that they have moved away from this group. It is a 5-rider battle for the lead. Ponziani has had pace in the last few laps, but not quite been able to make a move over any of these riders. Similar to what we've seen in recent races, the pace has actually slowed down this last lap. We've gone into the 154s. 3 riders abreast into turn 1. It will be Maria Herrera who moves in first position. Chloe Jones down the inside of both riders. Can she take the lead? Herrera will have the inside line at turn 2. She leads, but Jones up into second position, and things are starting to heat up here in race 1.
Yeah, you can see into turn 1, Jones able to just get that bike stopped and hold that tight line. She also holds a tighter line than Herrera through the long left-hander at turn 3. She's trying to make sure that she's able just to have the ability to have that exit through there, and for her, she's focusing on what she can control. Good riding by Jones. Sanchez has dropped down to 3rd. Let's see if she comes back up the inside into turn 5. She does, and she gets it stopped.
She gets it stopped and she moves back into second position. That has given Herrera a little bit of breathing room going into this second sector, but still a long way to go. We are on lap 8 of 11 here for race 1 in World WCR. Beatriz Naylor still in 4th position, starting to see the others break away. She was under a bit of pressure from Ponziani in the last lap, but she did remain in 4th position. But it is the moment where the number 36 is going to have to start thinking of upping the pace and closing that gap with the race lead.
Just to say as well, we're just past 2/3 race distance. We've had those spots of rain, no such issues at the moment out on track, but if the rain were to come and be a little bit heavier, you could see a red flag and a result declared.
Here we go, 4 laps to go. Maria Herrera leading 0.4 of a second. Now she has started to break away from Sarah Sanchez. It's up to half a second as we go into this final sector. Beatriz Naylor can see that she tries to make a move ahead of Chloe Jones into 3rd, can't get it stopped. And I wonder if that issue that she had at turn 1 a couple of laps ago under heavy braking might be in the back of the mind of Beatriz Naylor when she goes into these sort of areas at this Balloton Park circuit. So many areas where you need to brake hard here, so having one of those moments can dent your confidence a very little bit.
Herrera just set her personal best of the race to move herself a little bit further in front of the field. 0.6 of a second is that gap now, and Herrera's fastest time good enough for the front row of the grid for race 2 as well.
Naylor was thinking of a move on Chloe Jones going into turn 2. She went a little bit wide in turn 1, but then couldn't quite get it done. It would have been a brave move doing it on the cut back there at turn 2. Sarah Sanchez, let's see what she can do in this first sector. If she can catch Maria Herrera, because the number 6 has started to break away and it's nearly 0.3 of a second. So Herrera pushing hard, but all the riders behind her as well, starting to see her break away, and she can't quite open that gap with less than 3 laps remaining.
Personal best first sector for Herrera, Sanchez, Jones and Naylor, and they're all trying to close back that race leader.
Yep, they've still got the tyre under them, and they don't need much more for the remaining 2.5 laps. We have a yellow flag out at turn 5. I think that's Taylor Relf who has gone down. We'll get confirmation of that. We do on our timing screens now. It is the Aussie who has gone down at turn 5. Unfortunate for the number 8.
Yeah, Relf also unlucky that she's got the 10th fastest lap of the race, so not one of those 9 fastest laps that gives you a good grid position for race 2.
Could probably still get it back to the pits in time and change tyres and get another effort, but it might be a little bit too late for the number 5. Good to see her on her feet at very least. I think we'll get a replay of that crash here.
And you can see on the entry there, the front just bouncing for her, and for Ralph, she's able to walk away from that one pretty quickly. Hopefully she's able to get herself rejoined. She can't get out of the gravel trap there, so that's the end of her race, unfortunately. But another chance tomorrow to go from the 4th row of the grid.
Unfortunate for Ralph, it will be a best of 11th on the grid for race 2 tomorrow. So here we go, 2 laps remaining. Herrera's open nearly a second gap over Sanchez on this last lap, and it was in particularly the 2nd and 3rd sectors where she was a lot faster than the riders behind her, starting to break away. Naila still can't get past 4th position. She's really struggling at this point to get those moves done over Chloe Jones. And Sarah Sanchez potentially is the rider who's slowing up the pace a little bit at this point of the race, but she does remain in 2nd position.
Yeah, half a second in sector 3. That's the run through 9, 10 and 11. And it basically, for Maria Herrera, she just finds a massive amount of time in the 2 chicanes, 12 and 13 as well.
So does Naila go down the inside of Jones going into turn 5? No, because Jones makes a move ahead of Sarah Sanchez. Can she get it stopped? Yes, she does. Sanchez will have the inside line to defend against Beatriz. Naila, it's all going on now. I think Naila has actually moved ahead of Sanchez. So the number 64,
there as well now.
number 64 down from 2nd position into 4th. Ponziani very close to her, and Naila tries to make the move ahead of Chloe Jones going into turn 9. She gets it stopped. Sarah Sanchez very wide in the background. Ponziani will have the better exit there to try and battle for 4th, but Sanchez will have the inside line. Ponziani tries to go all the way around the outside, and she gets it done into 4th position.
Only 3 points between those 2 riders in their battle for 3rd in the World Championship as well. It's in Sanchez's favour at the moment, but we'll see how it ends up at the end of the race.
Naila now goes in pursuit of Maria Herrera, but is it too late for the number 36 to be able to catch her championship rival? 1 second is the difference between them as we go now into the end stages of this penultimate lap. She can still see the number 6. She's still pushing. It would be 5 points lost in this race 1 at Balloton Park. Not a huge difference, and better than the state it was a couple of laps ago with Naila in 4th. But if she can beat her main championship rival with that deficit going into the final lap, what a moral victory it would be for her. Less than a second, personal best lap of the race for the number 36. Going into turn 1, she defends from Chloe Jones. She was 0.4 of a second slower than number 15 in that previous lap than Naila on the number 36 bike, but still 0.9 of a second between them and Herrera. It's all going on here between Sanchez and Ponziani. They are out of that battle for the podium. 1.4 seconds now the gap between Ponziani and Jones in 3rd position. We go into turn 5 for the very last time. That gap remains stable around about 0.9 of a second. Chloe Jones will attempt to move down the inside on Beatriz. Naila can't quite get it stopped, and they are this is starting to become a battle for 2nd rather than a battle for 1st, although Naila seems to have gotten a little bit closer on this stage of the final lap. Yeah,
probably just got a bit too much ground to make up with half a lap to go, but good effort from Naila to come through and steady the ship during the course of this race. Now she needs to make sure she can hold off Chloe Jones.
So final lap going to turn 11 for the last time. Defensive line from Naila there. Jones is too far back to be able to make a move. The next overtaken spot should be the chicane at turn 13, and then all that's left is the final chicane of the lap at turns 15 and 16. 0.8 of a second still between Herrera and Naila, so good job done from Maria Herrera to open that lead in the final stages. This will be by far her most dominant win in World WCR, because she's only won her races by around about 1/10 of a second each time. This will be her 4th race win of the season behind Naila. Does she hold on ahead of Jones? No, she's gone wide into the chicane. Chloe Jones moves into 2nd position. Naila can't respond going into the final corner. It's going to be a 4th race win of the season for Maria Herrera. She increases her lead in the championship standings, and she will increase it by 9 points after that mistake on the final lap by Beatriz Naila. Chloe Jones, her best result in World WCR, her 2nd podium. Maria Herrera's father is absolutely elated at that, and so is Jones. I'd like to get a clearer view of what happened to Naila there. She remains in 3rd. She will continue her podium streak, but what a mistake there from the number 36, and those lost points, as we spoke about, Steve, at the start of this race, so crucial, those tiny details in the fight for the championship.
Yeah, she doesn't have that margin for error when you're up against Herrera, and unfortunately for Naila, a podium, so it's still a good result and a good performance, but giving up those 9 points really is important right now at this stage of the championship. We're into the 2nd half of the year now. Chloe Jones able to come away with this podium. This one's 2nd place rather than 3rd at Donington last time around. and she's been able to do a really good job in this race. And coming from the second row of the grid after her penalty yesterday, she kept a cool head, and she's been able to put in a really solid performance.
There's a personal best lap time of the race on that final lap. Also personal best lap time from Maria Herrera. Shows how much the number 6 was pushing in that stages to avoid any sort of battle on the final lap. The gap at the checkered flag was 1.3 seconds. And we're going to get the replay of what happened to Naila there. Just goes in deep into the chicane.
Naila's mistake there, and Chloe Jones able to pick up the pieces. And we will see that a lot this weekend into 15, particularly in last lap battles, where you're trying to break that 1 or 2 meters too deep, and that's the difference between being able to hold on to a position or losing it.
It was less than 0.2 of a second gap between Jones and Naila at the checkered flag. Then it was 2 seconds all the way down to Ponziani, who won in that battle for 4th position over Sarah Sanchez. Unfortunate for the number 64, but she moves further away in that battle for the championship, and just 1 point now between Sanchez and Ponziani in the battle for 3rd.
Yeah, and they'll start 1st and 2nd on the grid tomorrow. Ponziani from Sanchez, then our top 2 in the championship, Maria Herrera in front of Beatrice Naila, and then Chloe Jones and Paquita Ruiz on the second row of the grid. And good effort from Jess Howden. She finished 7th in this race, matching her career best, and she'll also start 7th in tomorrow's race ahead of Avalon Lewis and Lucy Budasal.
Lucy Budasal, we haven't seen much of her in this race, so impressive at Donington Park. She's dropped back a little bit in this race to 9th position, kind of lost track with that leading group in the early stages. She finished 6 seconds down on Avalon Lewis in 8th position. Good job from the number 21 as well. Less than 10 seconds from the race winners, just dropped off a little bit from that battle from Reith and Howden in the final few laps.
Yeah, and I'd say on the basis of what we saw in this race, well, that was probably one of the more competitive races we've seen in the WCR, for the riders staying in a bigger group for longer in this race, and riders making that bit of progress to keep themselves a little bit closer in terms of their lap times as well. And for the likes of Avalon Lewis, you finish in 8th, but you're less than a second a lap off the pace, and we've seen much bigger time gaps in the WCR over the last year.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, that probably is it's ironic because it's probably the biggest gap between 1st and 2nd that we've had in World WCR. All the races have finished by such close gaps, 1, 2, 3/10 of a second. But at the same time, as you mentioned, Steve, that gap between from 1st to 8th, less than 10 seconds, is very close. And we've had a lot of battles here, but nobody able quite to break away, which I think is against what we were kind of expecting for this race, given the characteristics of this Badton Park circuit.
Yeah, I kind of thought that it'd be one of those places where if you make a mistake, you could easily splinter the group. But as it was, if you made a mistake, it was quite difficult to recover that time. But you mightn't lose all that much time either. So it was a good race here, and we'll see what step everyone makes for tomorrow. But we could have very different weather conditions tomorrow as well.
Yeah, there was a moment in the warm-up lap for this race when we had the drops of rain where I thought we might have different conditions in this race, but it did remain dry in those opening laps. That might have also played into a little bit. Having those white flags on the warm-up lap, seeing that there could be a few drops of rain, and not knowing what you'll find after the race start may have played into the mind of a few of these riders who were quite cautious in those opening stages, which led to that bigger lead group that we've had here in race 1 at Hungary. So Maria Herrera, 18 points then will be the gap between herself and Naila going into Sunday. It's a great job again from the number 6. She was one of the riders who were a little bit more cautious in that first lap. Chloe Jones also moving into the lead but then when she found her rhythm, she was again the rider who was able to really make the difference here in World WCR. Here are the confirmed results from that race. Shout out as well to Astrid Madrigal in 10th position. She had started all the way down in 15th. So good to see the Mexican rider down back into the top 10 positions. She had her best round of the year at Cremona, but then struggled a little bit when we went back to Donington Park a fortnight ago. So just 20 seconds for herself off our race winner. Here is Chloe Jones. So now she's been in 3rd, she's been in 2nd. Well, the target for tomorrow, starting from 5th on the grid. She's starting from 6th today, finishes 2nd, starting from 5th. The target will be that first race win. She's been so close over the last couple of rounds and really making such a good step forward. Yeah,
she's given herself the chance where she can legitimately aim for that race victory, and podiums at Donington and here, and should have had 2 podiums at Donington fighting in that lead group as well. So really impressive run of form, and tomorrow we'll see if she's able to continue that form. But if she's able to come away from this weekend with a double podium, it's actually a really good weekend.
Championship standings here, and I think we will hear from Beatriz Neyla in a few moments' time. Be interesting to hear from the number 36 what happened on that final lap. It did seem like just a mistake from herself, similar to what we saw going into turn 1 a few laps prior. She was pushing very hard on those last 2 laps, particularly on the penultimate lap. The podium streak does continue for her, despite that mistake, though. 7 podiums this season, WorldWCR. Let's hear from the number 36.
Beatriz, probably not the result you wanted starting from pole position, but 3rd position, another podium, and good points for the championship, isn't it?
Yeah, the race was a little bit difficult, but finally I did a good job. I did a mistake in the last chicane, but I'm happy. The result is good for the championship. So tomorrow is another day, another opportunity. And yeah, thank you to everyone, and see you tomorrow.
Good luck for tomorrow. Thank you.
Beatriz Neyla again on the podium. She doesn't lose her smile, but you can imagine that inside she's ruined that mistake going into the final chicane. 4 crucial points in the context of the championship in a race which, based on the pace that she'd had on the Friday, we generally thought that she might be the favourite going into today.
Yeah, and the way the WCR plays out, it's always a case of, are you able to make your moves when you have to make them, and are you able to break away if you have that pace? For Beatriz, she had the chance to finish in 2nd, didn't quite get the job done, but she'll have another chance tomorrow.
So we'll hear in a few moments' time from Chloe Jones. 2nd weekend with a podium for the number 15. Her best result in WorldWCR so far. Here she is, number 15, Chloe Jones. Let's hear from her down with Alvaro.
Chloe, your 2nd podium in 2 rounds. Your best result so far here in WCR. Tell us, how do you feel?
It feels amazing. Obviously, to do it at home was the best feeling ever, but to get 2nd here against them 2 amazing riders, it's yeah, unbelievable, and I'm so happy to do it in front of this crowd as well.
Well done. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Very gracious, great interview again then.
Brilliant job from Chloe Jones to get 2nd position. Also, after everything that went on yesterday, having to start from the 2nd row of the grid. This is the move ahead of Beatriz Neyla. It was easy for the number 15 with that mistake from the number 36, but holding on along the final turn and getting her best result in the class.
With a flash of orange, and then she appeared in 2nd place. So.
In a few moments' time, we'll hear from Maria Herrera, 4th win of the season for herself. It will be her 10th win in WorldWCR, counting the 6 that she won in last year's inaugural season. So here she is, increased championship lead for the number 6, Maria Herrera, your race winner from Balloton Park.
Maria, 4th win of the season to increase your championship lead to 18 points. How was race 1?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the result, because I styled a little bit on the pole position because I didn't know very well the track. In this race, I managed some point. I could improve some part of the track. So yeah, thank you to Yamaha, because we had a little problem and they fixed for these races, and I'm happy for that. And thank you to my team also. And this victory is for Josele, one friend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job from Maria Herrera, opening that gap in the final couple of laps. This will be the move she made ahead of Sarah Sanchez, and then holding on down the inside of Chloe Jones on the cutback to turn 2. And all the battles that went on behind was the big difference. She was able to push that a little bit further in the final couple of laps, open that gap, and it was safe and sound then for the number 6 to take her 4th win of the 2025 campaign. The reaction there from her father, also from JBMotorsports. Everybody quite happy.
Everyone could be quite happy there.
Great shot there from our crew down in pit lane.
Let's explain what is going to happen now.
So the riders will be led now to the podium ceremony here at Balloton Park, the first one that we've had. But first, we will see those first 3 rows of the grid for race 2 tomorrow. It will be Roberta Ponziani starting from pole position, so a good opportunity for the number 96 to be able to lead from the get-go. She's been a rider who's struggled sometimes to be able to get through the field when she's had the pace. if she can get a good start tomorrow, that will be a good opportunity for herself.
Yeah, it'll mean as well that Natalia Rivera moves down onto that 4th row of the grid, and she ended up finishing in 12th in this race. She'll start alongside Ralph and then Sarah Veron as well. Veron ended up in 11th in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how tomorrow changes as well, because if we get different conditions, it'll be obviously a spanner in the works for everyone. But also, if we end up with the same conditions, let's see if anyone's able to make a bit of a step and make some improvements.
It'll be interesting, because if it does rain tomorrow, as the forecaster would seem to indicate, it would actually be the first full wet race we've had in World WCR. And that gives an opportunity for a lot of riders towards the back of the grid, who whenever we've had wet warm-ups or wet free practices, have shown that they have that little bit of extra pace in the wet conditions. Going back to a few sessions, we've had the likes of Lucy Michelle, the likes of Mallory Dobbs, who have been fast. Taylor Relf, who crashed out of today's race. They've been fast in those sort of conditions. It could provide a bit of an opportunity for those riders from the 4th row of the grid downwards.
Yeah, the forecast is basically where the overnight rain starts about midnight, and there's every chance that it just sort of keeps going. So tomorrow morning's warm-up session could be critical for these riders to give themselves that chance just to understand what the bikes and the track are like in wet conditions.
Yeah, we've had no wet sessions so far on Balloton Park. Hopefully that doesn't change for the rest of today, because there are quite a few clouds around, but it has remained mostly dry so far, save for a few drops of rain just before this World WCR race. Well, good to see Gabriel Maxi there on the podium, the former 125cc riding, former world champion, handing out the trophies to these riders. He is the most famous Hungarian rider we've had, at the very least in recent times in motorcycle racing.
Yeah, Gabber, a really successful rider, and it was fun whenever we were able to see him inaugurate the track a couple of months ago with the first videos that we were able to see of this place, and it really has impressed everyone. And good to be able to have the first race in the World Championship books for the Balloton Park circuit, and now we'll get ready for Superbike class coming up, and for the WCO riders, they'll see what they're able to build on for tomorrow.
First, we will hear the national anthem for our race winner, Maria Herrera. So you go, the podium celebrations at Balloton Park. First time the Prosecco's been sprayed here in this Hungarian round. All riders keeping quite to themselves on the podium here. Maria Herrera, quite calm after that victory today. She's quite focused after everything that's been going on over the last couple of rounds, all the comments on social media, the incidents, yesterday's Super Pole. She does actually remain quite calm now after she's been able to get that race win and get that out of her head and remove some of that pressure going into this Hungarian round.
Ladies and gentlemen, our race one podium.
So final results here from Hungary. Maria Herrera takes the win. A 1.3 second gap over Chloe Jones. The previous best win was less than 0.6 of a second, so more than doubling that in those final laps here at Hungary. Jones and Naylor complete the podium. Further down the field, Sarah Varon coming in as a wild card straight into the points. So her first point in World WCR for the Colombian rider who competed last year in the class. And Rivera Michel, Liu and Mallory Dobbs completing your point scoring positions. Riders' Championship, 18 points now, the gap between Herrera and Naylor, who also increased their gap to the riders in that battle for third, Sarah Sanchez and Roberta Ponziani. Chloe Jones closing that gap down to just 26 points, opening a bit of a gap for herself ahead of Paquita Reith. The only changes in terms of the championship standings were for 9th and 10th, Avalon Lewis moving ahead of Taylor Relf by just 3 points. Of course, the Australian rider crashing out of the race at turn 5. Big gains as well for Jessica Howden. She moves up to 11th with 9 points as she scored in today's race 1. So we leave you with those celebrations from our podium trio. Race 2 tomorrow from Hungary will take place at the same time. It is lights out from Balloton Park Circuit at 12:20 local time. Join us then.